Today we'll discuss about temperature chart. One of the least utilized document in our day-to-day practice, but it is one of the most useful document. Undergraduate students are not supposed to see the case sheets before taking a case. You're supposed to take case in the proper manner, come to a provisional diagnosis. Only at the end you're supposed to see the case sheets. But just see what are the major things, documents in the case sheet. After the history and all, we'll have an order sheet, research chart, and few more important documents: fluid intake output chart, temperature chart. Temperature chart is such an important document. If you properly document the details, and interpretation gives a lot of information. Most of the medical officers actually just go through at a glance and see the temperature pattern and nothing more. So today we'll tell you how to take temperature, how to document it, and what are the other things in the temperature chart, and if you properly document it, how to make use of that for the diagnosis. So how will you take the temperature? So I'm not going into details about the temperature control, the reasons for the temperature and all. So what are the context in which body temperature recording help you? One thing is variation in the body temperature. Normal temperature itself can have a variation which is utilized in another scenario, not the common situations of infections or malignancy or connective tissue disorders where you get higher temperature and fever. It's for the other one, ovulation. The subtle change in the temperature is a evidence of ovulation. That's a totally different context. The other situations where again temperature is important, hypothermia. The commoner accidents and drowning and all can produce hypothermia. In the case of newborn babies and preterms, this low temperature reading is so important. Previously it was very difficult to get the lower temperature recording, but now with the digital thermometers, you can record from the 34 degree centigrade onwards. So just before this thing, I'll just tell you the conversion of temperature. So most of you might have seen the recording centigrade and Fahrenheit, or the corresponding temperature is a written document. There is no need for that. You can convert the temperature from centigrade to Fahrenheit. Suppose Fahrenheit is 103 degree Fahrenheit. You minus 32 into 5 by 9 gives the centigrade temperature. The other way, centigrade it is 39 degree. 39 plus 32 into 9 by 5. That gives the Fahrenheit temperature. So there is no need for calculation if you have written a chart like that. So directly you can read also both Fahrenheit and centigrade can be read. Previously the thermometer we were using was the mercury thermometer. The mercury thermometer is now nobody is using it. Previously the method of temperature recording was putting in the under the tank for minimum 1 minute. Nobody does that now. Actually it's not recommended also. There's a lot of chance of cross infection. So always now we go for the digital thermometer and other methods also temperature recording as the. So most the latest is the infrared temperature. There is no need to touch. Other methods, eardrum you can use, the temporal artery, and core temperature measurement also, pulmonary artery. Other methods are also there which represents the true core temperatures. And previously we used to record the temperature from the anus, the mercury thermometer, rectal one. It's a different rectal thermometer also was available. Nowadays we use the rectal thermometer only to ensure the patency, Hirschsprung disorder and all. And core temperature, anal temperature is recorded by digital methods when you subject to hypothermia in the case of newborn babies. head cooling and all. So it's not a major document about the methods of temperature recording. Lot of important informations you need to read about the actual temperature, how will you measure the core temperature, other things. It's a major thing. So in the pediatric age group, usually we use nowadays digital thermometer. You record from the axilla or a groin, and ideally you should add 0.5 degrees centigrade to that, or 1 degree Fahrenheit. It represents the temperature. Most of the persons usually document the temperature, whatever you recorded directly. So after you take the recording, previously when you are using the mercury thermometer, need not remember how to record, how to look for the mercury thermometer. Most of you won't know the method of looking. So there is a bulb here. Suppose there is a bulb, and like this, should not hold on the bulb. You hold the other side, and after taking from the mouth, avoid that mercury, this bulb, and hold it somewhere like this. Hold the thermometer like this, and you gradually rotate in the axis like this. Why should you look for this in this rotation? Because the narrow hair like thermometer column you won't see if you hold like this. Actually it is a triangular axis. If you cut like this, the base of the triangle is white coated, and you are looking through the apex of the triangle against the base. So then only you can see the magnified column. So that is the reason why you rotate like this, and at one point you will see the column magnified when it is you are looking through the tip of the triangle against the base. So that is how you are looking for the temperature, and after that you should shake it and bring it to the mercury. So nowadays we are not using that. So after recording the temperature, you plot it. So these are the details of the temperature chart. The name, age will be there. Then there will be 7 columns, 7 days. Day 1, day 2, day 3, like that. Each column 6th hourly temperature chart. Ideally 6th hourly you should be recording, 4th hourly temperature chart. 6 columns should be there. Every 4 hours you are recording, and the temperature 97, 98, 99, 100 like that. So every 4 hours you are recording. So commonest mistake is you will be recording here, and after 10 hours only you will be recording here, and you will be joining. So maybe the temperature in between is normal, that is missed. So ideally a temperature chart should be plotted with all these values should be there. Otherwise you should not interpret that, because in between you don't know whether temperature is normal or not. So that should be the plotting 6 times in a day. So then 7 days. What are the other things which are to be looked for? You might have seen in the lower part there is pulse, still lower respiratory rate. Why is it so? Each time you record the temperature, you should be recording the pulse rate and the respiratory rate also. What is the importance of that? There is some area where you are not utilizing. You might have heard the proportionate rise in the rate of pulse and then the rate of respiration. So you have to check whether this is proportionate or not. There are certain diagnostic clues which unless you look for it you will miss. So every 1 degree centigrade you get 10 beats and 4 respiratory rate high. There are situations where you get the heart rate much beyond that. There are situations where you get the heart rate not proportionate. So both are important. So the classical conditions where you call it as relative bradycardia. It's not bradycardia, but you are not getting the rate of pulse proportionate to the temperature. Suppose 102 degree Fahrenheit, you change it to the centigrade and you expect maybe 20 beats, but you are not getting a the increase of 20, it's only 10 beats. So that constitute relative bradycardia. So the relative bradycardia can occur in Hendrick fever, Legionella, dengue, and lot of other situations where the rate can be modified, like thyroid disorders, like race ICT. All these things, don't expect the proportionate expected rate. So they are clue for this sort of infections, especially Hendrick, dengue, Legionella. Then about the tachycardia, you might have heard cardiac entities, especially myocarditis. There can be a baseline heart rate at a higher level. So all of us will be recording sleeping pulse rate, which indicates carditis. A patient who is at rest, no temperature, but the heart rate is higher. So that way, an out of proportion tachycardia may argue for some other cardiac problem or a thyroid disorder or something which is there hidden. So one very important point is check the simultaneous heart rate and see whether it is relatively higher or lower or is proportionate. Then take the respiratory rate. That way, respiratory rate also, there can be a fast breathing depending upon the temperature. That's just normal. But certain conditions where the breath rate will be much more than what is expected. So that is something which is confusing most of the cases of pneumonia. So actually, there may not be pneumonia. You take the fast rate of respiratory, arguing for pneumonia. Actually, it's just normal increase in the rate only. But if it is out of proportion to the temperature, that may be arguing for your respiratory problems, commonly pneumonia, maybe myocarditis, something. So, always make it a habit to check the corresponding pulse rate and heart rate also, that may give some of the clues. Then other utilities which are very important, which most of us don't do. So when you record the temperature, you can add some details in the column above. Apart from the temperature, ups and downs and the patterns, you will be knowing about the continuous, remittent, intermittent, and it is the quotidian, tertian, all those things. There's no need to talk. All of us will be checking the pattern of the temperature. But the other things, you can document certain details. In one color, you can document the drugs. In another color, you can document the important salient clinical things which may have a relevance to this. This is especially important when you get a case of prolonged preo. No clue, but the temperature chart gives some clue. Over time, not 1 week, it may be 3 weeks. So temperature chart alone may give some of the clues. The classical one is you are adding a drug. It need not be antibiotics. It can be an antibiotic, it can be an antituberculous, it can be an antimalarial, whatever. You write the drug name and date. Don't forget one thing. I said antibiotic or antituberculous. No, the other drugs also which can have a bearing on the temperature. So maybe you are dealing with a case of pneumonia, you will write ceftriaxone started on this day. The same night he had a wheeze, significant wheeze, somebody added steroid. You didn't write that. Steroid will modify the temperature. So that also should be written there. So any other drug which can produce a rise in temperature, atropine, steroid, all these things should be written here, which itself can modify the temperature. About the drugs, antibiotics, you can see after adding which drug the temperature dropped down. Suppose there is some response but it is not coming down. What does that mean? It's partly responding but not complete. So that itself is useful, because if it is a totally different entity, it won't respond at all. Suppose it's a case of malignancy. You added CP. The fever is persisting as such. That means either it is an infection not responding to this antibiotic, or it is something else, connective tissue disorder, malignancy, something. But it is showing some response, but it is not normalized. That means the antibiotic is working somehow. So it's arguing that it may be an infection, but this is not the drug of choice. So that way you can see the response after few days. So if no response, you may be rethinking at that time. Is it infection itself or something else, or some other entity as such? So that's how. So the date of adding the drug is very important. So one more important entity, important reason why the drug, there is something called drug fever. You may be keeping on changing drugs one after the other, and maybe at some point of time this drug as such is responsible. So withdrawing a particular drug which is well known to produce a drug fever, so your diagnosis changes over to drug fever. So introduction and withdrawing both are important. After introducing a drug, there can be worsening of the fever. After withdrawing, again you can get an improvement of the fever. That means there are certain drugs which can lead on to. And about the other thing, clinical scenario, you need not write entire details, but there are certain clues which you see unexpected in the clinical examination. You can remark that. Classical example is the rash which occurring on a particular time. So rash is persistently occurring during the fever. High fever, there is a rashes also. That is classical of systemic onset juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. Like that, any particular clues in the clinical examination which coincide with the temperature. So any clinical clues also you are writing it if it is recurring. The pattern of the fever, its pattern is daily, it's at 7 o'clock. So that may be useful. Daily it's at night. So lot of entities. My fever, high grade fever and the chills and rigor. Maybe malaria, maybe there is an internal abscess or something. So you should be recording two things, the drugs you are using, the clinical signs which you see. So if you properly document all these things and make it a habit to interpret everything, temperature chart is such an important document in the day-to-day practice. Especially in a case of prolonged fever, this is one of the most important documents, underutilized most of the time.